All right, Prop the Mic, presented by Props.cash. Beautiful Friday here in LA. The sun is shining through on my face here. We got all our Week 7 research done, and I'm feeling ready to podcast with you, especially coming off another huge Thursday night football game where we came very close to running the table, and I think cashed on what was maybe the sharpest play you've ever given out on PTM. So great call on Kamara. How you feeling?
Yeah, feeling great. We're somehow turning these like terrible Thursday night games into a really profitable night. So I don't know what the magic is, but we're gonna keep doing it.
Yeah, we've been reading them pretty well. So knock on wood, it continues.
You know what I will share. I shared this with a few of our friends earlier today, and I'll share it with our followers here. There's really some value in getting in front of the analysis earlier than day of, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's a change in approach this year versus maybe past years when we looked at football. Is just attacking as early as the lines come out. You get so much good value. So we're going to continue to do that as soon as we can. That's why we're doing a Friday pod right now for Sunday games, and you lock those in, and then you just cash them on Sunday. So
always nice when you see them moving in your direction over the course of the weekend. It's always that's a good feeling. Gives you confidence going into Sunday. Yeah, definitely.
All right, cool. So let's continue the success for Week 7 with our Sunday slate. We got 5, maybe 6 games. I'm not sure if we're going to hit up one of them we talked about earlier, but let's dive into the first one. I think one of your favorite ones. We got Detroit at Baltimore. Detroit is 5-1. Baltimore's 4-2 on the season, and Baltimore's -3 at home. Total is 43.5. You seem to like to pick Detroit every single week. I don't know why, but let's.
You don't know why. It's just because they put up points, and the teams that play against them have to answer. So pass attempts are up. Just offensive volume is up in general, like for teams playing against Detroit. So if you look at the win rate stuff that we always like to start with, Detroit is the 7th worst pass rush win rate, whereas Baltimore is the 12th best pass block win rate. So Baltimore at 12 is not great, but when Detroit is pretty bad at 7, you got a wide gap there. So it's a nice mismatch. In terms of quarterbacking, Detroit has allowed the 4th most pass attempts, what I just alluded to, the 4th longest average pocket time allowed, 7th most completions of 10 plus yards, and 2nd most red zone pass attempts with 38 red zone pass attempts so far this season. Yeah, nice. Very nice. And then on the receiving side against Detroit, they've allowed the 10th most yards per reception, the 2nd most yards before catch, the most red zone targets, and the 8th most receptions of 10 plus yards. So I think you can see this is setting up for a couple plays on Baltimore here. Lamar Jackson over 215.5 passing yards. He played Detroit last season, had 287. That's not, I'm more on this for everything else I just mentioned, not this, the historical 287 that he put up against Detroit, but it's worth noting. He's cleared this in his last 3 or 4 games this season when he's had 23 plus pass attempts, only 23. Jordan Love had the fewest pass attempts against Detroit this season with 36. If you click on pass attempts and then scroll down, we love this new feature on props.cash where you can see the what the opponents have done against that team.
Yep.
And I mean, just look at some of those numbers there. I mean, that the fewest was 36 attempts, and then you have, isn't there a 50 in there or 41, 50? I mean, I just think,
got some monster numbers in there, and from quarterbacks that don't really throw the ball that much too, right? Like Ritter and Love and Bryce Young. Wow, look at those numbers. I love that.
Yeah. So I think that sets up nicely. His pass attempts, I don't know if you want to click on. They weren't out yet. The lines weren't out. It looks like, are they out?
Yeah,
now?
FanDuel's got it at 30.5.
Okay, so I didn't dig too much. I just have a note here to look at it. It must have just gotten posted fairly recently because it wasn't up as of a few hours ago. So I'm going to look at that. I think there could be some nice value there as well. But then going over to the receiving side, let's look at Zay Flowers. I like his. Was he a guy you were on?
Oh yeah, let's see it.
So I like his receiving yards. I have it at 55.5, -115 on DK. He's gone over in 4 of 6 this season. At 55.5, it looks like some are close there, but you still have it at 4 of 6. Okay. Yeah, I think the matchup's great. This guy's popping off on a few of the charts that we like to look at. And given the number of red zone targets allowed, I like him for an anytime touchdown here, +210. He's had 8 red zone targets this season. Which is a decent volume, but he just got his first touchdown last week. So my theory is that the seal's broken. Let's go. It's time for Zay Flowers. They made a nice connection last week. They're going to go back to it So I like him for an anytime touchdown as well. What were
Yeah.
you on?
I didn't know which direction to go with him because I think they're all good plays, but I ended up landing on receptions. I liked 4.5 receptions at -120. That's actually come down. That was -130 earlier, so that's good. Yeah, DraftKings has it at -140, FanDuel -130, Caesars -123. So I just think that's a good spot. I think the targets that he's getting are through the roof. What did you say earlier? Yeah, 11 targets last week, 8 last week, 11 the week before. He had a down week versus Cleveland, is that?
But that's Cleveland's the best defensive like the last 20 years. So, yeah.
Right, and then 10 targets the week before that and 10 to start the season against a decent Houston defense. So I think he's just getting so many targets. To get 5 catches seems like a piece of cake. You could do kind of what you were doing last night, too, for Ingram and actually do maybe 5 receptions and also tack some yards on too if you want to get plus money on this one.
Yeah, 50 yards and 5 receptions. It sounds nice.
That could be very nice.
I'm going to look at that later. That's
he is 4 for 4. Just one other stat: 4 for 4 when he gets 8+ targets. So I think he's good for 8 targets this game. So 5 receptions should be a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Zay Flowers. What about OBJ? While we're on receivers, you got anything for him?
No, it was just Flowers.
That's wrong. Former New York guy. So let's just look at his 2023 season, right? Because the rest is so far in the past. But yeah, he's had a pretty good season so far. Played in 4 games so far, 37 yards, 29 yards, 13 versus Pittsburgh, and then was the only game he missed, and then 34 against Tennessee. So I like him at 20. What was this, 23.5? Looks like you can get it as low as 22.5 on FanDuel. The direction that I'm going to go with him, though, is his longest reception at 14.5. Same hit rates, 3 for 4, but you can see the vast majority of his receptions are coming on deep balls, and that's accounting for most of his receiving yards. So I like that angle with him. I think he's good for 15 yards on 1 reception.
I'm out on the long receptions after those were the 2 we got burned us last night. They're I'm taking a break from those for a minute, but it makes sense.
Yeah, no, they are. I mean, there's definitely an element of luck, especially when you get, a 20-yarder when you need 21. But nevertheless, it's good for these low volume tech guys that only go deep ball.
Yeah.
So,
all right, cool. More.
Yeah. What else do you like in this?
All right. So this is kind of correlated to having, to a upside to having a big passing game is an under on Baltimore's running game here. So I like Gus Edwards under 44.5 rush yards. I just think this is going to be it's either going to be a passing game or like a Lamar rushing game, right? This is like the best game of the weekend, like 2 definite playoff teams here. I just see this being a down game for him. The most yards by any running back against Detroit this season was Kenneth Walker with 43. That's the most rushing yards against Detroit this season. Only Hubbard is the only running back that's even gone over his line against Detroit, and that was for 35 yards. They've just been a beast.
Yeah.
Look at that.
That's a whole lot of X's right there.
Yeah.
I was looking at that one too. Yeah, they've got the least number of rushing yards of any team, 64.7 for an entire team. That's not for the one player. That's the entire team, 64.7. And now you got Gus Edwards, getting 12 to 16 carries a game, which is pretty decent. But he's also competing with Justice Hill for some volume as well, right? He's getting 8 carries a game. So I think that's a great play.
It's low. It's scary at 44.5, but no one's getting there. No one's gotten there yet this season against Detroit. So why should Gus Edwards be the guy in a game script that's probably going to lead to a lot of passing? You think Gus Edwards is going to be the guy to get there? I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Anything on the Detroit side?
No, just Baltimore here.
All right, cool. Just one, I want to just throw out another parlay since we had so much success with the reception parlays. I'm looking at that's like the first spot that I'm looking on FanDuel every day now because I love that you can alt them. But here's one to consider. I think it's a pretty good value. Mark Andrews at 4 receptions and Zay Flowers at 4 receptions. Put those together, you get plus 103. Let's look at receptions. Mark Andrews this season has had 4 receptions in every game. And Zay Flowers has had 4 receptions in every game except for the one versus Cleveland. So I think in this type of game where, like you said, it's going to be pass first, I think both these guys are going to crush with 4
Love that.
plus receptions. So plus 103. If you want to get greedy, You can also layer in Sam LaPorta. I like how you say yes. You want to get greedy? Yes, I do. Throw in Sam LaPorta for 3 receptions, who has had 3 receptions in every game and is a favorite target for Goff. Throw that in, you get the +103 goes up to +161. So
that's 4, 4, and 3.
4, 4, and 3. Or if you just want to stick with
put LaPorta at 4, man.
You could. I mean, he's basically got there in every game except for one. So that'll probably take you all the way up to +200. So if you want a +200 bet, just a couple guys getting 4 receptions. Certainly good for marketing for the 4 reception parlay. I like that.
Yeah, love that.
All right, cool. I think that's it for this game. Let's move on. You got any? The next game that we had was Buffalo at New England. Neither of us. Buffalo's 4-2 on the season. New England's 1-5. New England's getting 8.5 at home and a low total of 40.5. Neither of us really found a lot on this game. I guess you had initially selected it. Was there anything that was popping out for you?
So the Buffalo passing game is popping here. So I wrote down probably my favorite of all of them is probably like Josh Allen over 1.5 passing touchdowns, -115 on DK. That's probably my favorite. I looked at his yards at 250 is nice. His completions at 21.5 also very nice. And then I think based on our boy our boy Marcus Markets on X puts out a nice wide receiver sheet that shows gives like a ranking for man coverage versus zone coverage and the wide receivers that are in the best spots. And Diggs and Gabriel Davis are both on that list. So the passing game was popping. So Allen on any of those I just mentioned. I think Diggs and Davis also in great spots here. But I don't know this. I'm worried maybe of Buffalo getting out to a lead and maybe just kind of New England's just not looked good at all. They can't put up points. I don't know. I don't have a great read on this game, so it's kind of why I backed off. But I don't know. What did you have?
Yeah, Josh Allen, 2 passing touchdowns was definitely something that was nice. Popping out for me. I didn't even write it down because it wasn't that compelling. But I do like it. I think it's worth maybe a sprinkle on that one. I was looking at both quarterbacks for an interception. If you look, Josh Allen's had basically an interception for each of the last 2 weeks and had those 3 against the Jets. Mac Jones is even more compelling. He's had an interception almost every game and 5 interceptions in the last 3 games. I think he's a great play at -140 to put with some other piece of a parlay. But I'm also concerned that he may not make it through this whole game. There's a lot of rumors out there that he might get benched from week to week. So that always concerns me that if this ends up being a blowout, maybe he doesn't play. But if it's a blowout, he probably threw a pick. So consider that one again. Not a play per se, just more of a lean.
Yeah, that was the other angle that I liked in this that was popping in our models here was a fade on the New England passing game. But his line's so low at like 180 or something like that. Yeah. That's super risky. I also think I don't know if Zappy is like not. I don't know if he's hurt or something. So he might not even have like a real backup. So where they had pulled him a couple games and benched him for Zappy, I don't even know if that's a possibility. So who knows? Yeah, I'm kind of backing off this game.
Mac Jones is my my second quarterback in my Superflex fantasy league, and it's always a fun decision every week because it should be a no-brainer putting a quarterback into that second quarterback position, flex position. But with Mac Jones, I sometimes have to really give a hard think about putting a receiver in there instead of him.
So. Yeah, I would look for a different quarterback.
No, they're all taken, man. In those leagues, they're all taken. All right, one quick one. I just think it's worth discussing again. More of a lean than a play, but I do think Josh Allen rush attempts at 5.5 seems very high, right? -115. He had 6 rush attempts in the first game versus the Jets, which was like them just trying to survive that game. Yeah. And then since then, he hasn't had more than 4 rush attempts, and the game script here does not tell me that he's going to be running the ball a lot. So I think his line is still elevated from kind of where he used to be last year. I mean, look at his rush attempts last year. He was consistently above 6. Yeah. But they're clearly making more of a focus on preserving him and letting him throw the ball, which is part of the reason why his interceptions are up because he's forcing things that he might have used to run, but he's also probably going to last the whole season if they keep doing this. So I think that's a good play at under 5.5 rush attempts.
Yeah, I like it. I think there's no need for him to push it in this game and try to get some yards on the ground. Yeah,
definitely. And actually, sorry, that's -104 for the under. All right, let's move on. Enough of this one. We got Arizona at Seattle. Arizona's 1-5. Seattle's 3-2. Seattle's -7.5 at home. Total is 44.5 on this game. What do you like in terms of the matchups here?
All right, got a few in this game that I like. So you have a nice matchup for the Seattle running game because Arizona has the 3rd worst run stop win rate, whereas Seattle has the 12th best run block win rate. Arizona has allowed the 7th most yards per attempt to running backs, the 6th most runs of 10+ yards, and also the most red zone targets to running backs. So I started looking at Kenneth Walker, over 71.5 rush yards. Seems a little high. He burned us at 63.5, I think, last weekend. Ended up with 60, I think, something like that. Very close. And that was -130. So I'm paying a lot of juice for a high number. It's a good spot. His last 2 games against Arizona, 109 and 97 last year. The last 4 running backs to play Arizona have all cleared. Kyron Williams, 158. Joe Mixon, 81. McCaffrey, 106. Tony Pollard, 122. So he still only needs 71.5, and those are some big numbers there. So I think he probably gets there, but they let us do some single game parlays, right, where we can put together. So I like him to get in. If you click on his touchdowns there and look what he's done in terms of getting into the end zone the last 4 weeks.
Oh yeah, look at that.
Yeah. So you can put. So at first I'm like, oh, let's bring it down to 60 and put it with an anytime touchdown. So I do that on DK. It's -120. I'm like, not great for a parlay, right? I look on BetMGM as +100, right?
Okay.
So a little bit better. Then I go over to our old friends at Caesars, right? You could put 50 rush yards and an anytime touchdown for +102.
Wow.
Yeah.
Why 50? They wouldn't let you do 60?
They only have 50 or 75 as an option,
Okay.
I believe. Yeah. So,
right.
yeah. So 50 yards, which I think he's definitely good for 50 yards in this game. And an anytime touchdown +102. Lock it in, baby.
Yeah. This is you mentioned the red zone weakness of the Cardinals. I think this is a great spot for him to get a touchdown, but -160 isn't going to do it. So yeah, throw in some yards in there, and I think you got a great play right there.
Yeah, I thought that
Look
was
at that
very
line,
nice.
too. It's like all over the place. -185.
I know.
-190. Wow. Yeah. So -160 is a good value at Caesars. And then you add the yards, you're good to go. I love that.
All right, I'm glad you like it. I got some stuff on the passing game here. So quarterbacks against Arizona have the 3rd highest quarterback rating, 3rd most yards per attempt, 2nd most air yards per attempt, most completions of 10+ yards, most red zone pass attempts, fewest quarterback knockdowns, and the 8th fewest quarterback hurries. So I think it's shaping up to be a nice day in the pocket for Geno Smith.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you're on Geno?
Love Geno in this game.
Yeah. I was on his yards. Is that where you ended up?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah,
251.5.
Yep. -114 on FanDuel. 4 of 6 quarterbacks have cleared this line, their lines against Arizona. Geno's cleared this line in 3 of his last 4 games. I just think this is a home run spot for him. I got a receiver to pair him up with too. Unless you get anything else on Geno here.
Yeah, no. Let's just talk about the quarterbacks. Yeah, I mean you had Stafford put up. Stafford only got 226, but Joe Burrow 317, Brock Purdy 283, Prescott 249, Daniel Jones 321. And here's the thing, too. It was funny. I was just listening to the radio, a little sports radio, and they were basically saying, like, Geno Smith is a great play for this game, but he's not quite the quarterback that he was last year. But that's nonsense, man. His combined yardage for 2022 and 2023 is 237.3, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's dismiss this first game versus the Rams, right? He had a bad game there. Yeah. The game against the Giants, he was out half the game. Right? If you go down to his snaps, he was hurt in that game.
That's right. Yeah.
He only was on the field for 34 snaps. The game before it and the game after, he's been on the field for 70+ snaps. Right? Mm-hmm. So if you take that game out for injury, you take out the first game of the season, the guy's averaging over 300 yards a game compared to 237. So he's actually having a better year than last year. I just think there's noise in that injury that's pulling this line down. So a really good value against a really great matchup. I think we smashed this one.
Yeah, I love this one. I think you can put him. I love Tyler Lockett here, another guy on Marcus's sheet that was singing to me based on, and also loving the passing matchup. So over 55.5 receiving yards, -115 on DK. The reason I went with Lockett, if you look at click on their games against Arizona and switch between Metcalf and Lockett. So there's Lockett against Arizona. There's Metcalf against Arizona. So that's what, it's hard. It's always hard when you have like a nice duo like this, who's, that's not really like wide receiver. It's like 1A and 1B kind of. It's like, who do you pick? So that's what I landed on based on the history against Arizona, slightly lower line. He's got a nice 25% upward slope on his targets, so nice, upward trend on the targets there. So let's go with Lockett here.
I can't believe you just said that. I mean, I like the play, but I do recall a couple pods ago when I played DK Metcalf, you said, I don't ever play DK Metcalf or Tyler Lockett because I never get them right. So there's a part of me that's
You're fact checking me.
Yeah, you knew that in the back of your head as you were giving this play out that I was going to call that out. So part of me is like, part of me is like, let's play Lockett. Although you could do something nice and take him down to maybe like 50 yards and then pair it with Geno. I think that's a nice, highly correlated play. Maybe do something like that, or you just totally fade Tom because he already told us. He already told us that he never gets this one right. So either way, that'll be fun. All right, cool. So we got Geno, we got Lockett, and we got Walker. Anything else in this matchup?
That's it.
All right, yeah. Stay away from Arizona. Although Kyler Murray's on the way back. I think he might be back next week.
Oh, really?
No,
I didn't hear that.
Yeah, he was in practice, so I think next week or the following week or something he'll be back. So keep an eye out. I thought they were just going to sit him the whole year, but it looks like he might play.
Interesting.
All right, let's go to the best game of the week. Get the Chargers conference game. Chargers division game. Chargers at the Chiefs. Chargers are 2-3. The Chiefs are 5-1. Nearly flawless. Chiefs are -5.5 at Arrowhead, my favorite place now to watch a game. Total is 47.5. What do you like in this matchup?
You can't get a much better passing game matchup than you have in this game here. I mean, Chargers have just been a target all season, but the reason why Chargers have the second worst pass rush win rate, Kansas City's offensive line has the best pass block win rate this season. Looking at the quarterback position, Chargers defense has allowed the fourth highest average quarterback rating, sixth longest average pocket time, seventh most pass attempts, second most yards per attempt, the most air yards per attempt, and the third most red zone pass attempts. So I'm going with your boy, Patty Mahomes, over 277.5 passing yards, -115 on DK. All five quarterbacks to face the Chargers have cleared their lines against the Chargers. This is a no-brainer. He scared me that he was well on his way in that game against Chicago to clearing the line. The game got away from him. The Chargers will give them have some more offense to put up. So I think this will be a more competitive game. They'll should be able to score a bit and keep. What's the total in this game?
Total's 47.5. The Chargers will score points. This will be closer than. I mean, the line is only 5.5, right?
Yeah.
And the Chargers are staying like pretty competitive, but they're not putting teams away. This will be a competitive game. I mean, you saw even the Broncos game. The Chiefs are way better than the Broncos. The Broncos stayed in that game. Yeah. So it's a division game. It will be competitive. It'll be close. I don't see Mahomes resting in the fourth quarter. They also need to make a statement too. So they will try to blow out the Chargers if they are, do have like a 10-point lead or something like that. Yeah. So I like that play. What about on the receiving side? You like anybody else?
Before you had nothing else. I think his pass attempts are also pretty nice at 36.5. You look at the two legit quarterbacks that have played the Chargers, Tua and Cousins. Tua had 45 pass attempts. Cousins had 50 pass attempts in that game. So then you're looking at some other guys like O'Connell and I may have called Dak Prescott not a legit quarterback. Ryan Tannehill, definitely not a legit quarterback. So, I thought that was nice, given probably there's a lot of back and forth in this game. I feel like this is a big, heavy pass volume game for Mahomes. So I like that. But what do you think, Mr. Chiefs?
I think it's a good play. I mean, I think, I think the Jets were a tough defense. Yeah. And then the Chicago game, he only played 3 quarters. So basically,
otherwise he got there. Yeah.
He's gotten there in every game other than the Jets, which are a really good defense. So, so I think that is a really good play. I almost like that better than the yards.
Yeah. All right, receivers. I'm on Rice. Rice is my boy in this game. I like his over 36.5 receiving yards, -114. If you look at the wide receiver twos to face the Chargers, they're all getting there or very close. So you got like Brandon Cooks put up 36, Myers 33, Jordan Addison 52, Burks 76, Waddle 78. So these are the guys, and then their wide receiver ones typically for the most part, blew it out of the water. So I think he's becoming a favorite target of Mahomes here. I think, right? Is that
He is. Mahomes, from what I heard, Mahomes actually was very instrumental in drafting him. So he clearly likes something about the young guy, and he seems to be going to him quite a bit. With that said, Mecole Hardman is now on the Chiefs again.
Is he going to play though on Sunday?
I don't know. I mean, I would imagine he will, just because he already knows the offense. But I'm just kidding. He's certainly not the number one there. He might be like the sixth option. But yeah, no, I like Rashee Rice. I think he's definitely got a really good role in this game. What are his targets?
So I don't know exactly, but I do have another play on him, because do you know that he has the second most red zone targets behind Kelce on the team? Kelce's got 9. He's got 8. So I like him for an anytime touchdown at plus 240 in this game. I think there's some serious value on that.
Yeah. He didn't have any in the Denver game, but before that he had 2, 3, and 2. So that's really nice. I like that a lot. Okay, so anytime touchdown. What was the value on that one?
Plus 240.
Yeah, not bad.
Yeah,
that's pretty good. Okay. What about Kelce here? I think this is a really good spot for Kelce.
Let me hear it.
I don't know which angle to go, but if you look, first of all, let's just start. He's the kind of guy who can dial it up, in the, the big games, right? Division game is a big game, especially the Chargers, because the Chargers are always like the team that's knocking on their door.
Yeah.
But I mean, look what he did in the last 3 of the last 4 games against the Chargers. 104 yards, 191 yards. He had 51 in that game. I don't remember what happened in that game, but that was early in the season. And then 115 yards in the most recent game in November of last year. So I think he's in good position to put up some big numbers. He was like on a hobbled ankle last week and crushed against Denver. So you can go yards 75.5. I think you can get it as low as 72.5 now on DraftKings. Receptions is also another angle you can go. I think for him to get 6.5 receptions is probably pretty good. If you look at what he's done this year, his last 2 games, he's had 10 receptions and 9 receptions. So that's pretty good. If you want to play it safe, you can do something like Kelce 6 receptions, Mahomes 250 yards. That gives you somewhere around like minus 120. Super conservative, and you can play with that. You can dial that up. Kelce 7 receptions, Mahomes 275, something like that. So that was probably the angle that I was going to go, but yeah, I just think he's going to be a really big target this week.
So that seems 7 receptions seems pretty safe for him in this game.
Yeah. Although if you look, against the Chargers, he was more of a yards guy than a reception guy in the past. So the safest bet might actually just be to go with the straight line on the yards. So
all right.
One other guy, Pacheco.
Yeah,
it would not be a PTM pod if we didn't talk about Pacheco. I kind of like his receptions at 2.5. If you look, he's done that. He had 6 receptions against Denver last week, which we called out as a great opportunity there. But I think the Chargers are also like a really good matchup for running backs to receive the ball. If you look at the last 5 running backs that played the Chargers on this chart, Pollard's line was 3.5. He had 6. Jacobs had 8. Madison had 5. Derrick Henry had 3. Spears had 2, and that's where it ended. Mostert only had 2, but that was week 1, I believe. So I think this is also a really good spot for either Pacheco, or we can go back to McKinnon once that line's published as well.
So I was on Pacheco as well.
Okay.
I'm on his rush plus receiving yards, 82.5. And you just went through those running backs. 4 straight running backs have gone over this. Pollard with 110, Jacobs with 139, Madison with 125, Derrick Henry with 95. So all clearing it by quite a large margin. I like Pacheco here to do some damage on the ground and through the air. Yeah,
we're up over 50 units this year in the NFL season, and I would say about 35 of them have come from running backs.
running back
receiving plays. So so this is a good opportunity to listen up, because I think these running back plays against bad teams or bad defenses is a real cash cow.
Yeah.
So, all right, cool. All right. Anything on the Chargers side?
Nope.
I just had to play something. I had to put something out there just so I didn't seem like a biased Chiefs fan. I think Justin Herbert to get 14.5. It was before 14. Yeah. So most of the books have it 16.5, but FanDuel still has 14.5 rushing yards. I think that's pretty good. He's not a running quarterback, but when he does need to run, he can run. Like he's kind of like a Josh Allen type. And a big guy, so if he doesn't necessarily get taken down on the first contact. If you look at, he's done this in 3 of his 5 games this season, and if you look at his prior games versus KC, 3 out of the 4 games. So I think he's going to be the coverage for the Chiefs is also pretty good, the secondary this year. So I think he's going to be in a position where he's going to have to scramble to kind of keep plays alive and such. So I think for 14.5 yards, I think he's got it. So
that sounds good, and you don't sound like a homer. It sounds good.
Yeah, I don't know. I was just trying to present both sides.
I appreciate that.
It's a half-hearted play. All right, let's move on. Green Bay at Denver. Green Bay is another team that Tom loves to play here.
And Denver.
For different reasons.
Whoever goes against Denver, yeah.
Green Bay's 2-3 on the season. Denver is 1-5 on the season. Denver is getting 1.5 at home, and the total is 45.5. I'm going to tell you right now, I forbid you to play Jordan Love 1.5 passing touchdowns in this game.
Yeah, I stayed away from that one.
All right.
I have one on Jordan Love, but that's not it. I kept going back to the well on that one.
No, I don't want to see you get burned for a third time.
Okay.
So, all right, go ahead. What do you like here?
All right. This is the matchup I really love. Denver has the third worst pass rush win rate. Green Bay has the third best pass block win rate. So huge mismatch here. Quarterbacks against Denver. They're second in quarterback rating, first in air yards per attempt, first in yards per attempt, third in air yards per attempt. They've allowed the most completions of 10 plus yards, 66 completions of 10 plus yards this season. And they're fifth in the fifth highest average pocket time. So I went with Love over 234.5 passing yards, minus 115 on DK. Did it go up a little bit? Maybe.
236 on DK, okay. 235 on FanDuel right now.
If you go look at the quarterbacks that have played them, every quarterback except Zach Wilson and Jimmy G has thrown for 300 yards against Denver, I think, right? You may have one guy with 299 in there, but basically more or less 300 yards.
Tua, Fields, Mahomes.
Yeah,
that's pretty nice.
Yeah, Love needs a nice bounce back game here, and I think this is it. So that's what I had on Love, and now we could go over to the receivers, unless you had anything else.
No, I think one comment on the passing yards. Remember, we've pointed this out in the past. He's definitely a second half guy, right? First half, he's averaging now 66 yards in the first half. Second half, he's averaging 152 yards. So,
wow.
Again, if I'm going to play this, I'm going to wait till halftime and probably play this and get this probably down as low as like 190 yards or something like that.
There you go.
That would be my recommendation, especially in an away game for a young quarterback.
Denver, though. I don't know. They're pretty bad at defense.
They didn't look so bad defensively last week. So, but anyway, other play quickly on Love. I think his rushing yards is a pretty good spot here at 14.5. So, I'm in love with the quarterback rushing.
Yeah.
You can get that. Oh wow, look at that on FanDuel. Look at that value. You can get it for 11.5. So even better. That's amazing. So that actually puts him clearing 4 out of 5 games. And if you look at the 3 last quarterbacks to play Denver, Mahomes had 31 yards, Zach Wilson had 26 yards, and Justin Fields had 25 yards. So 3 straight quarterbacks have crushed against Denver. I think he's good for 12 yards in this game. So.
Okay. Seems like a good one. Yeah, I like that.
All right, who else do you like?
All right, wide receivers. Denver's 6th in yards per reception, 9th in yards before catch, 9th in yards after catch, 8th most completions of 10 plus yards. So I'm on Romeo Doubs here. Couldn't decide. I like both his receiving yards and his receptions. The receiving yards minus 114 on FanDuel. Has it gone up? I have it at 36.5. So you might be getting bet up.
37.5. You can get it for now.
Okay. So Rashee Rice had 72 on basically the same line last week. I think his line was 38.5. He finished with 72 in that game. So I think that's a nice spot for Doubs. His receptions, 3.5 receptions at plus 112 on FanDuel. I like the odds there. He only had 4 targets last week, but if you look at the 2 prior weeks, he had 12 and 13 targets the two prior weeks. So against this brutal Denver defense, I think he's good for that. Yeah.
So mean to Denver. I like that. I'm a little concerned about his his snaps and such as Watson gets more ingrained in the offense. Yeah. But he does seem to be a favorite of Love. So I think it's a good play. Yeah, good bounce back spot.
Yeah.
I also like, speaking of receivers, I like Musgrave in this game for 3.5 receptions.
Yep.
You on that too?
Yep, I was. Yeah.
I mean, look at this. He had 6 receptions against New Orleans, 1 reception against Detroit. But remember, that was a game where he had a concussion. So I feel like that's being factored into this math here. And then 6, again, coming back against Vegas. So he could easily put up 5 or 6 receptions in this game.
Yeah.
If you look at the 3 of the last tight ends to face Denver, Kelce had 9 receptions. Conklin, our other guy, had 4 receptions, and Cole Kmet had 7 receptions. So Denver's given up a lot of catches to tight ends. None of those throws to Kelce were like anything spectacular. He was wide open on most of them. So I think Musgrave is going to be good for 5, 6 catches in this game. A line of 4 with plus 100 is insane. I think it's a really good play. What do you think?
Love it. Denver is terrible against tight ends. 6th in yards per reception, 6th in yards before contact, 1st in receptions of 20 and 30 yards. I mean, I could keep rating them, but there's it's great. The 3 guys you just mentioned, I think this is also Musgrave's also a good play just on the yards in total. It's 34.5. Kelce had 124, Conklin had 67, Kmet had 85. So I think you could go either way. If you could parlay them together, obviously there's a nice correlation there. That could be something nice to look at. 30 yards and 4 receptions, something like that. Like we did with Ingram last night. That could be nice.
His straight line is as low as 31.5 on FanDuel right now. So
okay.
So you almost don't even need to parlay if you like yards better. But you can put that along with 4 catches and probably get this at plus 110, something like that. Could be very nice. Very good. Awesome. All right. So we're both on that one. Anybody else in this game?
Yeah, we got to go to Aaron Jones.
Go ahead.
The return of Aaron Jones.
Aaron Jones is killing our futures parlay that we put together. We had 6 players, and he's the only one who's not going to cash this year, which is driving me nuts. But anyway.
Don't worry.
You think
There's still time.
This could be the game. If he puts up a 200 rushing yards this game, we'll be in good shape. What do you like here?
You just called it out how PTM has just been crushing receiving yards by running backs. Denver 4th in targets to running backs, 3rd in receptions by running backs. So his line's 19.5 receiving yards, minus 114 on FanDuel. Chicago, he's only played 2 games. Chicago is a good comp though for Denver defensively. He had 86 receiving yards against Chicago. And go down and look at the running back receiving yards against Denver. Click over. Yeah. I mean, look at Pacheco. His line was 13.5, 36. McKinnon, 13.5. He had 20. Brees Hall, 11.5. He had 17. Guys, I mean, you have more down there too. You could keep going, but there's a lot of green checks.
Herbert,
there.
Mostert.
Yeah.
Brian Robinson, Gibson, Josh Jacobs. Everybody's doing it.
Everybody
but Rashawn Johnson and Dalvin Cook. That's awesome, man. I love that. Yeah. How could you not play that play? I had that one written down too. I was just waiting for you to give it out. All right, cool. Very nice. Ready to move on?
No, I got one. I actually have one on the Denver side.
Wow, you should. Okay, go ahead. What do you got?
This is the first time I've I think it's the only one where the last game I have on both sides. Green Bay has the 11th worst run stop win rate. Denver surprisingly has the 2nd best run block win rate. Green Bay's allowed the most rush attempts to running backs, 9th most yards before contact, 6th most runs of 10 plus yards. So Javonte Williams over 48.5 rush yards. Minus 115 against Green Bay. Josh Jacobs 69, David Montgomery 121, Bijan Robinson 124. I think there's a nice low spot for Javonte Williams to get 48.5 rush yards.
Yeah, he looked pretty good, and he only had 10 carries last game because he was coming off the injury, and still ended up with 52 yards. He looked pretty good.
Now
in
they have 10 days to rest.
Yeah. So I kind of love that spot too at 48.5. So good.
Yeah,
love that one.
Nice.
All right,
we can move on now.
Let's finish this thing up. We got one of the best games. I'm looking forward to this game. Sunday Night Football, Miami at Philadelphia. If it wasn't for the Chiefs, this could be a Super Bowl matchup. But Miami's 5-1. Philadelphia's 5-1. Philly is minus 2.5. The total is 51.5. What do you like here?
All right. This was like one of the top matchups of the weekend here. Running backs against Miami. Miami has the 5th worst run stop win rate. Philly has the 2nd best run block win rate. Miami's has allowed the 8th highest average long rush, 9th most rush attempts, 3rd most broken tackles allowed to running backs. They've also, interestingly to note, Miami has allowed the 5th fewest receptions to running backs. So whereas we were on a DeAndre Swift receiving game last time, the last 3 weeks he had 4, 6, and 8 receptions. I think based on this Miami defense, we kind of see a return to you see those 2 weeks 2 and 3 where he only had 3 and 1 receptions in those games, but had 175 and 130 rushing yards. I think we see a return to like the output he had in weeks 2 and 3 and go over 62.5 rush yards, minus 114 on FanDuel. What do you say?
Yeah, you can get it for 60.5 right now.
All right.
On DraftKings for -125. So I'd pay the extra juice. Maybe. I don't know. I think they're both good. Yeah, no, I think it's a great play. And if you think about it, part of the game plan for the Eagles to win this game is going to be to keep the ball out of Tua's hands.
Mm-hmm.
And the way you do that is to run the ball a lot and kill some clock.
Great point.
I think Swift is going to get a lot of touches in this game. 60.5 rushing yards seems great. Probably even 14 rush attempts is decent, but I do like the rush yards because he's got that explosive capability.
Yes.
Love that play. All right, cool. What else?
The only other one I was looking at, I was trying to find something on Hurts. I feel like, this is a big game for him to kind of step up. The one I kind of ended up looking at was his pass attempts, 32.5 pass attempts. He's cleared it, and it kind of goes against kind of what you were just saying, but he's gone over in 6 of his last 7 games. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's at 33. Yeah. I think you can still get it at 32.5.
Yeah, DraftKings 32.5.
Yeah. 4 of the 6 quarterbacks to face Miami have gone over this line this season. So I think there's going to be a lot of offense in this game. I think, this is where I ended up. I was curious to see, though, if you had anything on Hurts.
Yeah. I mean, going back to your comment, I don't think it's one or the other. I think you can, run the ball a lot, and Miami's still going to score very quickly, and you're going to have the ball back in your hands, right? So there's just going to be a lot of quick possessions in this game. I like Hurts' passing yards here. You can get it as low as 251 on FanDuel. If you look, his last 4 games, he's cleared this after a couple of really slow games. So I like Hurts at 251. He's done this in 7 of his last 15 games. I also like A.J. Brown for his line, which is 82.5 receiving yards, which he's done this in 10 of his last 15 games. So then I looked at the two of them together and I said, you know what? How many times when Hurts actually gets 250 passing yards does A.J. Brown clear his line of 83 yards? And the answer is every game.
There you go.
Every game. Like Hurts doesn't get to 250 in the last 15 games that they played together. Hurts does not get to 250 unless A.J. Brown gets 83 receiving yards. It's actually a minimum of 95 yards. So what you can do is you can put Hurts at 250, A.J. Brown at 90 yards. You put those together, you can do plus 169 on FanDuel.
Might as well throw Tyreek Hill in there for 100 yards too, no?
Yeah, totally. So yeah, I think that's a good play. Yeah, just talking about Tyreek real quickly. We did put up a pick earlier on X on Tyreek. I think he's in a fantastic spot for 95.5 receiving yards. He's done this in 4 of 6 games. He's leading in every category almost receiving wise. He is just he's just so dynamic, right? He can beat guys down the field and get, a 50-yard pass. He can go out for a 2-yard screen and turn it into a 40-yard pass. So 95 yards, 95.5 yards on DK minus 115 is great. I also like his longest reception at 28.5. I did look that correlation up as well. In 14 out of the 15 games in the last 2 years where Tyreek has had 96 yards, he's also had a longest reception of 29 plus. The one game that he missed, he had a reception for 28. So basically, if he's going to get 96 yards, he's going to do it with longest reception as well. So if you like that, might be a different angle as well to go. Okay.
Nice. Very nice. Do you have anything else for this game?
No, that's all I had.
So I have one other. I can't bet this because this guy made us so much money last week. But this is a fade spot for Mostert here. I was looking to go under on him. One, after what he did for us last week, not going to do it. But his line's down to as low as 49.5. Paying juice on it too at minus 130. So just wanted to call it out. It was a spot, but I'm not going to go there. But it's popping out in the model here.
Yeah, I clicked on that early in the analysis too to check this one out because I thought it was a really good matchup to fade. But like you said, the line is already reflecting the fade.
Yeah.
Right. It's this guy should have a line of like 80 and it's down to 51. So
think of what it was last week. What was it? 77. We got as high as 77.5 or something like that last weekend.
So I think that's a great play, but at the same point, I would avoid it just because he's got such a capability to just bust for like a 40-yarder. So I would avoid it. I don't really love an underplay on him.
No, me neither. Yeah. All right. I think that's a wrap. This was a little longer than we had intended, but there was a lot of good picks to go through. So we will definitely get a few more of these up on X, our favorite ones. And let's continue the success we had from Thursday night going into Sunday here. And let's all make some money.
Let's go.